Oh, here's my reminder on my phone. Good evening and welcome to our Council and Committee of the Whole meeting for the 20th of February 2024. Bienvenue à notre réunion de conseil pour le 20 février. To open this evening, I'd like to ask Councillor St. Louis for our land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Je souhaite prendre un moment pour souligner l'importance du territoire sur lequel nous sommes rassemblés. The municipality of West Nipissing respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the homeland of the Anishinaabe people on their traditional territory of the Nipissing, Tamani, and Dokis First Nations, covered by the Robinson-Huron Treaty. We honor and recognize their historical connection to the land and value their significant contribution in shaping and strengthening our communities. Ce faisant, nous réaffirmons notre engagement et notre responsabilité envers la réconciliation et l'amélioration de notre compréhension des peuples autochtones locaux et de leur culture.
Merci. Okay, I would take any declarations of pecuniary interest on tonight's agenda. Being none.
It is moved by Councillor Tessier and seconded by Councillor Cochin. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on February the 20th, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. We have no addendum this evening. We do have a petition that we've received in your packages. Did you want to say anything about that now, or just receive it?
Exactly.
Okay, so we acknowledge the petition in regards to paving Canal Road has been received. It will be brought forward in our in committee of the whole for discussion. Thank you. And moving on to committee of the whole, we have we'll start this evening with economic development, and for that I'll pass the floor to Councillor Cochin.
Merci, Madame la maire. Donc, à l'ordre du jour ce soir pour le comité de développement économique, on a une mise à jour sur le site du Vieux-Moulin. So I'll pass it along to the director, Mr. Pouling, to elaborate on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As stated in the memo, we thought it'd be an opportune time to bring to council an update on the former mill site redevelopment. To give council an update on where we're at. So currently we're undertaking and completing a phase 1 environmental site assessment on the property. And that's scheduled to be completed in April of 2024. Following that, we will be retaining the services of an engineering firm or consultant to complete the phase 2 environmental site assessment. And that is scheduled to be completed in February of 2025. Concurrently, we will be surveying the entire property. There's a section of that property that will be transferred over to West Nipissing Power Gen to so that they can continue running the power plant and having transports deliver goods to the facility. So we will again be retaining the services of a consultant to survey the entire property. That is a requirement for us to be able to move forward with that project as well. And that the completion for this property survey to be fully completed is December 2024. Not knowing at this time what the results of the phase 2 site environmental site assessment results will be, it's difficult for us to know the next steps. Once the phase 2 report is provided, then we'll know exactly what type of land remediation or brownfield redevelopment work will be required to move forward with the plan. And at that time, we will be bringing that information forward to council, and that's going to basically determine the next steps and timelines associated to that. While all of this is happening, we are having internal discussions regarding infrastructure needs and design, including roads, water, sanitary. So it's a significant project. It's a project that's going to impact this community for decades to come, and it's certainly not a project that is going to happen overnight. So there's a lot of work involved, and I think we're well underway. but I do feel confident that we'll get the phase one, phase two completed, and then that will kick off the real development side of this project.
Any questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Pellet.
Merci, M. Cochon. Juste une question. Comment est-ce qu'on s'y prend pour engager les consultants et les ingénieurs? Y a-t-il un bidding process ou comment ça marche?
So for phase one, we retained a consulting firm because the cost was not that high, but we working with a consulting firm that, and there's not a multitude of companies that basically do this type of work. So we retain the services of Englobe to complete the phase one. Phase two is a much larger project, and that will be going out to a public tendering process. So we're working at preparing the scope of work, and as soon as we get word on funding, we'll be able to release the phase two request for quotes, and then we'll retain the services of an engineering firm to get the work done. But it will be a public process, 100%. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Casey.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Prior to the project, like the purchase of the land, was there ever a soil sample or testing done prior previous
Maybe.
councils?
So in terms of the acquisition of the land, I was here when we did the transfer of the power plant, and I was here when that land was gone. One of the issues with so the quick answer is no, there wasn't a soil sample. The Weyerhaeuser themselves conducted a phase one, so just so that the public knows the difference between a phase one and a phase two. The phase one is kind of a paper study, an analytical study looking at records and so on and so forth, and what the land use and what have you. And then that would determine whether a phase two is necessary. A phase two under an industrial site is typically necessary. But the debate that was being held for the last, I'm going to say 15 years, was that Weyerhaeuser would not be releasing that land with that kind of information. And so we were then spending the last 10 to 15 years working with individuals that had historical knowledge of how the site was used, what could be there and what couldn't be there, to see what kind of liability we did have. And so it was determined at that time that, despite the fact that a prudent course of action would be to try and get, no company would let you do a phase two. But a phase one, they did confidentially leave their phase one document with us, and that formed part of a past council's decision. So a past council, based on all of the information, made the decision to move forward with it based on the information that they had. So now we're at the stage where we are renewing the phase one information. And as Mr. Poulin indicated, that will likely lead to a phase two, which will involve taking soil samples. So if you know the history of that place, a lot of the pulp, and that was on the other side of the road where Dovercourt subdivision is. On the highway side, it was called OCC, Old Corrugated Cardboard. And it was a plant that was a partnership between actually the municipalities and, back in the day, McMillan Bloedel, and it became Weyerhaeuser. And so that was just a feed to take old cardboard. So there wasn't really a lot of use in that land that you see. There wasn't a lot of use where, in terms of environmental, that we can tell. Without pointing, we're aware of certain people that may have worked there at a certain time who were, who's was head of environmental at the time. So we do have that advantage as well. So all of our information is anecdotal, but we felt comfortable enough with the risk. We also spoke with the City of North Bay on their rail lands redevelopment and had a lot of advice on brownfield redevelopment. So we were fairly comfortable with our strategies going forward.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Oh, Madam Mayor.
The survey that's planned for completion this year. That will identify, a part of that will be identifying the lands that need to be retained by Power Gen for their current operations and any future taking into account any future needs they may have.
Correct.
Correct? And it'll kind of draw those lines as well. So survey the whole property and set apart the Power Gen requirements.
Correct.
Okay, and currently the property, the entire property is actually held by Power Gen at this point.
It's held by the municipality. We double checked last week.
Is it the municipality's name? So we did transfer it? Okay.
Okay, so then at that point, we would look at transferring back whatever parcels of that land that may be required by Power Gen. Is that-
Right. And just to, so that there isn't any mistake in the public, it isn't that Power Gen is looking at future expansion per se. So that's a very small amount near where the transformers are. It's just to ensure that we can do the work.
Yeah,
The larger issue is along the river and the garage at the bottom of the power plant. That needs to have access. So instead of going all the way around that vacant field, there'll be a direct line straight to Front Street, and then that'll be handled accordingly. So that needs to be carved off. And so there's kind of a cliff anyway. And so there's a ledge, and the top part will be for municipal use or private use. And then the lower part that goes up the hill, that'll be a road that exists now. It'll just be straightened and go to Front Street.
Thank you.
Councillor Pellerin?
Thank you, Councillor Cochon. Just out of curiosity, was there ever a time in the past year that the council maybe would think of, let's all move this to a private, sell it to a private individual? Just curious.
Through you, Mr. Chair, options as to how that would happen on a lump sale, no, that was never really considered. And I think it wasn't considered, not to speak for the Economic Development Committee or councils, but I think that's, you're looking at around 30 to 35 acres. And I think that, as Mr. Poulet indicates, this is, if done right, could really enhance the quality of the community depending on what is there. And so if we just redirect it to whatever, then you may not have additional affordable housing, you may not have highway commercial along the area, you may not have walking paths. So certainly that could be an option. But I think that the more prudent way for such a valuable piece of land is to ensure that it maximizes its usefulness to the community. And I think past decisions were going along that line as opposed to just buying it and selling it and dumping it.
Thank you, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, can I say something about that too? I think the fact that the previous council and the previous Economic Development Committee went forward with the development of a land use strategy really indicates the direction of making sure that it's used in the proper way. And I agree with that as well. Like, if the intent had just been to pass it on, the work that had gone into that strategy and all the public consultations, I think there is an expectation by the taxpayer that we safeguard that property so that it's of maximum benefit to the community.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Great, seeing none. So I'll hand it over back to you, Madam Mayor.
Mayor, can I just maybe make a suggestion? I don't know, through your mayor's report, if you're going to have news to share.
Yeah.
You want to wait, or since we're on that subject, did you want to speak to that, or?
Oh, we can, I can speak to that now and you may have something
You know-
to add. It wasn't in your report, so I didn't know whether you wanted to handle
I would
it
leave
or
that
I
to
was
you.
going to leave it at the end to the mayor's
Okay.
report. But we're here and you're absolutely right. So we might as well do it. So I know that council is aware and there's been some media releases recently, but the land use planning and development strategy for the mill site recently won both the land use and planning rural category at the Economic Development Council of Ontario Conference. But on top of that, the plan also won the Lieutenant Governor's Award. And that is extremely significant because there are, I think, 8 or 9 different categories on all different areas of economic development that receive awards through the night. And the Lieutenant Governor's Award is reserved for the project that has the most significant impact in Ontario. It's basically the best in show for this conference, economic developers from the province. So we were extremely pleased to hear the news. Our economic development officer, Cassandra Gerard, was there to accept the award, which was delivered by Edith Dumont. The Honorable Edith Dumont, who is the Lieutenant Governor of Ontario and also the first Francophone to hold the position of Lieutenant Governor. So she had a fantastic night, and it really is a great award. It shows the work that was put in not only by the staff at the municipality, the foresight of the Economic Development Advisory Committee and the previous council in moving forward on this project, but also the impact of doing really robust public consultations was a huge import factor for this project as well. And so it really is just a testament to the work of everybody together that brought us this great honor. So we're very proud, and I'd like to thank Mr. Liang and Ms. Gerard for their work on it. I know our communications department, and there was a lot of over the development of the plan. Every department touched it in some manner or other. So I'd just like to acknowledge the cooperation and work of our staff team in getting that plan done. And very big moment. Would you like to add anything on that?
I think you've covered it. It's really good press for us. It is. I think we checked a lot of boxes in sense that we were gonna, create some green space, and we're gonna assist with the housing crisis on that property, and then future retail commercial. I think that we checked off a lot of the boxes, which led to us winning both awards, which is really nice, and it's good press, and hopefully some of the developers are going to be looking at us to potentially partner with us in the future. So
yeah, very exciting news. So yes, I would have saved that for the mayor's report, but it's a great place to bring it up now. So thank you again to everybody involved. Moving on, we do have a one item under our Public Works Committee. Pass the floor to our chair, Councilor Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Ontario Good Roads Association Conference is scheduled for April 21st to the 24th in Toronto. We are seeking council to see if there's any potential delegation requests that we would like to maybe submit conference. And I'd like to open it up for questions, comments, or suggestions. Yes, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as a suggestion, because I've heard it over the last few council meetings too, we may want to put like the Champlain Bridge back under the ministry's radar. If
Right.
I'm not sure if there was any movement since the last time, but
So through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you that would be the one delegation request that staff has indicated that they would like to put on. Not that you can't have more, but that was the one suggestion to go to the Minister of Transport, whose change, we've had varying communications and varied messages with MTO staff. And so I think it would serve our purpose to put it back on the record. I could just also indicate that MTO right now, on a global perspective or on a policy perspective, are assuring us, not that we're going to get, but they're assuring us that they're looking at it with respect to finding ways of amending the connecting link program to accommodate or account for these larger projects, and they really have us in mind with respect to how this can happen. But I think that I was speaking to Her Worship just before the meeting that I think we need to come in as polite as possible, but a little bit more urgent in our request to have some movement as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments, or suggestions? Questions? Any other suggestions by staff?
That's our big one. As indicating to the mayor, just, and I don't want to talk about sales strategy in a public meeting, but if you start diluting too many things, you're free to think of issues with municipal affairs and very specific issues that are near and dear to our municipality. But if you start diluting the message to the Minister of Transportation, then what is your priority? And so you kind of, you have to remember that this minister and other ministers receive delegation requests from approximately 400 municipalities. And so you really want to make sure that yours is relevant to the point. Otherwise, if they're just small things that are of interest to us, they're not necessarily on a scope that may be of interest to them. So I think the MTO one we've got covered. If council wishes to discuss any other issue, any social services or anything, that would be up to council to decide.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Well, I had a couple little ideas, and I'm not sure whether they would work. When we were attended Roma in the zone meetings, one of the issues that came up was in regards to immigration attraction and the push to on both federal and provincial level to encourage immigration from French-speaking countries. And one of the points we made is that it doesn't really have an impact if you're attracting French-speaking immigrants to live in Toronto or work in a nursing home in Brampton, and that there's a real big issue in getting policy developed that will actually encourage new immigrants who are from French-speaking countries to actually settle in the communities that need French-speaking workforce. So, and it was actually a point that was very well received in our zone room, and with many other small communities saying, whether it's in healthcare or home care, social services. And even other sectors, it's sometimes very difficult to attract French-speaking talent to those roles when there's a definite need for services in French. So I don't know if there's a nugget there that we can spin into delegation requests to Citizenship and Immigration, or through the Ministry of Francophone Affairs. Or both, but that was kind of one thing that kind of came up from a larger policy perspective at Roma that's a little lacking on the provincial level right now.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Monsieur Bennett.
J'aurais peut-être une question à propos de l'eau à Verner. Ce serait-tu quelque chose à s'aventurer là-dedans? Parce que si je regarde les papiers d'hier, c'était schedulé pour l'ouvrage a commencé à être fait en 2000. Là, on dirait que ça a été mis sur le back burner. C'est-tu quelque chose à regarder? La ligne pour descendre à KHB et le Water Tower, on parle de probablement de 15 à 20 millions.
Oui, c'est quelque chose à considérer au sujet c'est de trouver un paquet. Oui, c'était mis dans la 2023, mais on a fait des ajustements dans nos opérations qui nous ont acheté du temps. Alors, ça étant dit, conseiller, ça va pas, le problème va pas non plus. Alors, ce qu'on peut faire, c'est qu'on peut considérer voir un angle pour faire une demande, puis faire cette demande aussi, si vous voulez.
Questions? Any questions, suggestions, suggestions?
More than enough. Wait, no, we're good.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
Next up, we are going to have a discussion in community services, and I will pass the floor to Councillor Ravar, our chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So 5.3.1, we just have building security issues, and I pass that along to Monsieur Poulet. Or to Mr. Barbeau.
We haven't, through you, Mr. Chair, we haven't rehearsed. I could tell you that when I was away and I got back, I received some emails that were somewhat of a concern with respect to this facility and other facilities as well. And so I think we're just informing council that we're looking at options and ways and means to ensure that our building and the employees within our buildings are safe. There's a couple issues with respect to individuals having access to the basement. There's issues where individuals have access or are hiding after hours and have access to a variety of other places. There have been issues where staff at the library have been quite uncomfortable with individuals, and it's one thing to indicate to them to call the police, but it's the other part of it is, as an employer, we have a duty to protect those in our facilities, and so we're at the just at the starting stages. Up to and including perhaps looking at getting some security on off hours to support or in certain strategic areas. What we're finding is we're using a bunch of tough guys like Mr. Poulet, with his physique, he scares people away. But no, all kidding aside, we're using individuals who are employed here who aren't necessarily haven't necessarily signed up to go and put themselves in harm's way. And I can point that to certain of our maintenance employees who are called to stay nearby in that. So I think that we're going to be looking at a variety of different options. We just wanted to put it on the agenda. Her worship had received some information as well. And so we just wanted to let you know that this is a file that staff is looking at. I don't know, Mr. Poulet or Ms. Fraddick, if you have anything to add.
No, essentially, you've covered a lot of it. It's just that it's not isolated only in this building here. As our CAO mentioned, we are having issues in other public facilities. So we are going to have a very close look to ensure not only our staff safety, but our public safety. If by any means services are going to be affected by some measures we're going to have to put in place, we will obviously come back to council on those affected services if we get to that point. But right now we're looking at keyed entry, security cameras. We're looking at actual security being in our buildings at peak hours. So we are looking at rectifying some of the issues we've been faced with. There's obviously, when you're talking video surveillance and keyed system and fobs, there will be investment required in our facilities to ensure public and staff safety. But I think we're at a point now where it's getting critical and we need to act on it.
Thank you for the update and information. I'd open up the floor to any comments or questions. Seeing none, so I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. And in our final committee for this evening, we go to sewer and water, and I'll pass the floor to Councillor Pellerin.
Mayor. I guess it's just to continue what we discussed last meeting. Any new questions? No. I've got a couple. Under operating costs, process materials, $710,000. Can you elaborate on this?
Most of that is the chemicals that we use for the water and wastewater treatment. And just the normal operations, equipment repairs. And in some cases, a lot of the equipment are aged and repairing may not be necessarily the best option, and then we would have to then purchase replacement items.
But I think that needs to be expanded on this side. Under process materials, I'm not 100% sure we're replacing equipment on that. Maybe Elisa could.
Yeah, so it is the electrical and instrumentation that goes along with that. It is primarily, as Mr. Ming said, the chemicals, but the sludge removal is also in that line, and it's a large chunk as well. The sludge removal from at the wastewater treatment plant.
The trucking.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. My other question, the services and rents. We talked about I guess it's the burner plant. From Aqua. So I know the services, but the rents, I'm just thinking like, do we own the plant or is it Aqua's plant?
No, we own the plant, so it's not, that's just a line. It's called services and rents. But it's mostly services. There's no rents. So to be, Aqua is our service provider. They have been since amalgamation, and they deal with the operation of the water treatment plant, and I think they service the ones as well. And we are responsible for distribution collection. They work in tandem and partner with us.
So they service the water plant and the lagoon? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, that's it for me. Any other questions? No? All right, thank you.
Okay, so let me just, so here we are doing a sewer and water budget. I don't know what was presented 2 weeks ago. Did you go over the entire document, Ms. Craddock?
Yeah, so we did walk council through the budget that's in front of council, and just sort of explain what the lines were, and then left it with council to sort of digest if they had questions, to come back tonight with questions. There is a resolution on later this evening if council is prepared to go ahead now and then sort of approve the water and sewer budget. Then, given that we have not heard any comments or anything else, it would be sort of approved as presented that you saw last week then.
Yeah.
I have a few questions. So what's the increase from last year to this year as far as percentage wise, and what's the cost of taxpayers?
So the percentage is a 2.78% increase. And then on the rates, so on a household that has full water and sewer delivery, the whole package there, it's about a $41 increase per year.
Thank you very much. No more questions.
Councillor Hall.
Maybe through you, Councillor Pelley. I was just looking at the rate revenue line. It's at the top of the budget workbook. Shows about like a $34,500 increase. Would that like encompass all the new bills that are on water and sewer? So then we'd be getting more bills? Because like if the average bill I find, like if you're on water and sewer is about $1,500 a year, that's only about 20 homes, 20 something homes. Would there not be more homes that have been built that are now tying into water and sewer? So the revenue would actually be, the rate revenue would be higher, or Or am I reading that wrong?
So the increase that's sort of already built in before we start looking at it, that the overall, it does capture new builds that we've seen, as well as if there's any change in the metered clients at all. A large part of our development is not on water and sewer. So a lot of our development is outside of our urban core. A lot of our building right now is outside of our urban core. So it doesn't have the same impact, but absolutely that captures what we're aware of coming into it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. I guess some of them are just on water, some are just on,
Yeah.
well, not many are just on sewer, but thank you.
Any other questions? So, thank you.
Okay, we'll close that off. Thank you very much, Mr. Ming and Ms. Craddock, for the preparation of the documents there and the work that your team's put in. And we'll get back to that later on in the agenda this evening. Okay, we'll move on to the regular portion of our meeting now, and item 6.1, the consent agenda.
It is moved by Councillor Crochet and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Be it resolved that the consent agenda for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting on February the 20th, 2024 be approved as presented.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Could we pull out the 6.1, please?
I was just gonna say that, so, and what you do is can we pull the minutes of the council meeting out from the consent
Right.
agenda? Okay, and you don't need a motion for that, that's as soon as somebody asks of those.
No, but yes, that's correct.
Okay, so we'll come back to approving the consent agenda with the one remaining item after we deal with the minutes from the February 6th meeting. And,
I'll read the resolution for the minutes and then you can.
okay,
It is moved by Councillor Crochet and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on February the 6th, 2024 be approved as presented.
okay. 6. Sorry. It's getting to this. Okay, and you'd like to make an amendment to the minutes then, or you have a question about an item that appears in the minutes, Councilor Fedorino?
Yes. Okay, we go and question that right away?
Yeah.
Okay. Page 35. Yeah, can I, on page 35 on the hard copy, I think it's 41 on your iPad. It's item 7, branch report. But under Werner, it says possible building closure.
Oh, you want to pull the library minutes? I'm sorry. Okay, so we'll pull those out too, or we can,
It's all that's left.
okay. I was on the other one, but if he meant library minutes, we can do that first. Okay, sorry, I thought you meant the meetings of the council meeting that you had a question about. Okay. Okay.
So you had a question about the closure of the,
Yes, can we get a little bit more info on this?
absolutely, through you, Madam Mayor, I've heard, so first of all, library board minutes are received, so you're not approving them, so they basically, the discussion was held there. My understanding of what transpired there, and didn't have a chance to talk to them, is there's never been any comment, there was any statement at all that we're shutting down any library or anything like that. I think that some people at the library board, I didn't read their minutes, but are maybe jumping a little ahead of schedule, thinking that what we indicated during budget process is that we have some challenges with that building. We have not come to any decision because council is the one who comes to decision. There have been no reports that have come to council, and certainly there was never any discussion of closing any library in Vernon or anywhere else. We certainly don't have That's an autonomous board, so we're not doing that. So I could assure the public, and I can assure the people at the library board, and it's unfortunate they wouldn't have reached out to ask us. But that is not the intent. If we ever have a problem with that building, and I'm only speaking hypothetically, where we have to do something else with the building, and again, that's extremely hypothetical, so don't start running away with something, then we obviously would have a discussion about how and where to move the Werner Library. But on a process from 1 to 100,000, we'd be at number 1. It is absolutely not on the radar, and it's not something that I would be concerned or worried about, and it's not an intent of anybody at staff or at council to consider that at this time. We have indicated to council that building under a building needs assessment needs some work and needs some money to spend on it. So that'll be coming to council down the line to discuss how and what's the best solution at that time, and it becomes a council decision. But in no way, shape, or form are we closing anything or any other of the services that exist there.
Okay, good, thank you. I like what you're saying because I hate seeing words like this. It gets people all.
Somebody on the board.
I can add to it, sorry.
Councillor Nichols sits on the board.
It was brought to our board because there's some misinformation spreading that the building was closing, and there's patrons coming in and lots of people upset and worried, but it's been cleared up, rest assured. We discussed it. Everybody's content with where it is right now, and from now on, we're just going to talk to municipality as opposed to reading.
I'll just say, first of all, what may be helpful is when the minutes are submitted to the municipality for both that item and number 8, it says see attached as far as reports that would be included as part of the agenda information. So of course, council has no information on what the briefing was given by the CEO of the library on that subject. And I will add to what Councillor Nichols said, that basically this item showing on these minutes is the result of social media misinformation. And it shouldn't have been there because there's never been any discussion either at this council table or at the library board that we would be decreasing any level of service at libraries. And it's unfortunate that this is appearing in public minutes when it wasn't based on any kind of factual information. So, and we can't change anything on those minutes. So does that answer your questions or your concerns on that?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to bring it up because
Yeah.
I'm getting some phone calls, and then I see this in our minutes, like I'm gonna get more phone calls, and it's going on the staff too. Like, no, nobody said anything. So
Yeah, no, there is.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Crochet and seconded by Councillor Teissier. Be it resolved that the minutes of the West Nipissing Public Library Board held on January the 11th, 2024 be received.
Okay, any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. And then I would have liked the minutes from the February 6th meeting pulled for another reason, just to make a correction on one of the items there. So under item 5.2.1, the resolution to adopt the capital budget, which is on page 33 of your, well, it's the amendment, so it's on page 34 of your packages. The amendment is written in the minutes as outdoor activity projects, and I'd like to make sure that that is changed to say outdoor recreation assets, because I think it needs to be clear that this is a capital budget expenditure, and that money is put aside for investment into municipally owned infrastructure. And it's not like an activity fund or a general activity fund. I was pretty sure that those were the words that I used in the meeting. And I want to be clear that it is about like upgrading municipal assets and not Yeah, so that would be my proposed amendment.
Second.
I need a seconder on that. Councillor Gagne.
It is moved by it is moved by Mayor Rochelle and seconded by Councillor Gagne that the minutes of the February the 6th, 2024 be amended as follows. That the line item for the outdoor pickleball courts in the community services capital budget for 2024 projects be changed to outdoor recreation assets in order to provide greater flexibility to future projects.
So amendment first.
I just read it.
Okay, all in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Cruchain and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Be resolved that the minutes of the council and committee of the whole meeting held on February the 6th, 2024 be adopted as amended.
Further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, with that, we'll move to item 6.5, new business.
It is moved by Councillor Tessier and seconded by Councillor Cruchain. Whereas budget deliberations were held at special budget meetings held on November the 18th, November 23rd, November 30th, and to discuss general municipal expenditures, general municipal expenditure estimates for the year 2024. Be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of Municipality of West Nipissing approves the general municipal expenditure estimates attached hereto for the year 2024.
Okay. So the approval that we're looking for here is based on the November 23rd document. Is that correct?
As we discussed with the notes last meeting, that it's based on that document. So on the final meeting of council, or final budget discussion with council, council amended the contribution to reserve for the Eau Chateau. Since that time, as we just sort of touched on last week, we did have a refined number both from the health unit and from DSAB, as well as the change to the OCIF funding. And so all that's incorporated into that final budget document that you have attached as the appendix to the resolution.
Questions or comments on this, Councillor Tessier?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. The property taxation from the summary of all categories from what we had previously to now, there's an increase. And what's that increase?
So what what it's done when I presented is that I've said, okay, so we had a shortfall on our budget document of the 4.67, so it was 929,000. So when we balance the budget then, it comes from taxation. And so what you're seeing there is the balanced budget with the revenue from taxation that as approving the expenditure level, we'll need to go get the extra taxation dollars.
So this budget as appears now, what is the property tax increase on that?
It's a levy increase of 4.67%.
Thank you, Councillor Tessier. Other questions? Okay. So we're, if there's no other questions, there's no other concerns, there's no other changes, we have a resolution to approve the expenditure levels at a 4.67% increase in front of us. And with no other questions or comments, I'll call that to a vote. All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Cruchain and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Whereas at a meeting of council held on February the 6th and February 20th, 2024, deliberations were held to discuss expenditure estimates for water and wastewater for the year 2024. Be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality approves the estimates for water and wastewater attached hereto as Schedule A for the year 2024.
Okay. So we just spoke about this in committee. We talked about it in committee last time. Any final questions, comments, concerns in regards to the water and wastewater budget as presented? Seeing none, I'll call it to a vote. All those in favor? Okay, carried. Okay.
It is moved by Councillor Tessier and seconded by Councillor Crochet. Be it resolved that council grants permission for the following temporary street closures for the West Nipissing Pride Parade to be held on Saturday, June the 8th, 2024, beginning at 1 p.m., closure from noon to 2 p.m. Ethel Street between Main and King, King Street between Ethel and Queen, Queen between King and Main between Queen and Ethel.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that the property located on Riverfront Drive, described as part of the north half of Lot 5 Concession A, Part 1, Plan 36R15200 in the municipality of West Nipissing, be declared surplus and that staff be directed to proceed to dispose of the property to François Gilles Rivet and April Pamela White Rivet for the consideration of $40,000 plus HST in accordance with Municipal Bylaw 2024-12.
21. 24. Okay. 18.
It's referring to.
Oh,
this
okay,
bylaw
I'm
that's
sorry.
attached.
Accordance with use. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. So questions or comments, you see the map there, and this is one that we have discussed, council previously. Yes, Councillor Tyler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just on that subject, we have that policy in place yet all the money goes in the reserve dedicated for all surplus lands? We talked about it, and that never came back.
It's on our next general government meeting.
It's going to be the next meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly can, as we have with the last ones, just treat this way, but absolutely, it's on our next general government meeting, the policy.
Okay, thank you.
And I have one question. The $40,000 was the appraised value? on
Yes.
that? Okay, any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas municipal public works departments from across the province of Ontario provide invaluable services to our communities in ensuring the health and safety of all residents. And whereas if it was not for our municipal public works employees from across the province maintaining our public roads, our communities would not be able to function as emergency personnel could not respond to calls, school buses could not get our children to school, residents would not be able to get to work or school appointments, and many more basic functions would not be able to happen. And whereas municipal public works departments are already feeling the impacts of a labor shortage, which will only be exacerbated over the next 3 to 5 years, which will cause levels of service municipalities are able to provide to ensure the health and safety of our residents to decrease. And whereas there is currently no province-wide course that properly trains potential municipal public works employees specifically relating to municipal heavy equipment, be it resolved that the municipality of West Nipissing supports the work of the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors to develop a municipal equipment operator course to address this issue, and that the municipality of West Nipissing calls on the province of Ontario's Ministry of Labour, Training, Immigration and Skilled Trades to fully fund the municipal equipment operator course in 2024 through the Skills Development Fund. And further, that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Minister of Labour, Training, Immigration and Skilled Trades, the municipality of West Nipissing's Member of Parliament, and to the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors.
Thank you for reading that. That was very well done. So you've got the attached letter from the Association of Ontario Road Supervisors, and it's pretty straightforward. They do very good work in the education and promotion of public works as a great career and great choice, and this program would be great. So questions or comments on that? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas the municipality of West Nipissing supports the stabilization of federal government's Reaching Home funding to the District of Nipissing Social Services Administration Board as the community entity, and whereas funding be maintained at a minimum at current service levels for future fiscal years, be it resolved that the West Nipissing municipality supports this resolution and requests that the resolution be shared with local federal representatives.
Okay, and a similar type of motion, and that's actually really good information just for our council in regards to one of the funding streams that's pretty important to the work that DSAP does on our behalf. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas it had previously been determined at a council meeting held on September the 5th, 2023, that Campbell Anderson be appointed to the West Nipissing Police Service Board for the remainder of the 2022-2026 term. And whereas the appointment was made prematurely, be it resolved that the appointment of Campbell Anderson be rescinded.
That as far as the next.
There's another resolution.
No.
Yeah, I would amend it. Sorry, the information is that it be rescinded and that, that he be appointed to the new board once it takes effect.
You can just amend this.
Yeah, I'd need a proposer for, yeah, because that was, so in terms of by way of background, the province is restructuring their police boards. And we were asked to, we received some information, I guess, at the police board and or here, and we were asked to support and get an additional person for this board. We assumed that it was for the board that we have now, but it's actually for a board that will be taking effect April 1st. So we've communicated with Mr. Anderson that his appointment will be for the new board and not this board. So if the wording could reflect the fact that Mr. Anderson be appointed for the new board once it takes effect would be more appropriate. And I spoke to Tom, or the Policing Services Advisor, and that's the resolution that they're expecting, so.
Okay. So move for the amendment, Dan?
And second.
So the resolution reads as follows: be it further resolved that Campbell Anderson be reappointed when the new board takes effect on April 1st, 2024.
Yes, Councillor Padawan.
Thank you, Madam. Just wondering, like, why the old board, the new board? Can you explain on this?
So the province had decided to reconfigure the makeups of the Police Services Board. So it previously was 2 provincial appointees, one community appointee, and 2 members from council. And the province has made the decision to go to 2 council, 2 community appointees, and 1 provincial appointee. So we were communicated that that was what was happening, and we moved forward with filling that vacancy, which we did at a previous council meeting. But it's since been communicated that that new board structure does not take effect until the legislation is passed, which will be April 1st. And so basically, we were a little ahead of the cart. The cart was ahead of the horse, and basically we have to take back the appointment to re-put it after April 1st.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments on that? Okay, all those in favor? Carried. One last item on the agenda for this evening.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas the Conseil Scolaire Catholique Franco-Nord is requesting the use of the Marcel Noel Hall and kitchen free of charge in order to host the annual Provincial High School Improvisation Tournament La Folie on Friday, May 3rd, 2024. And whereas Council supports the Conseil Scolaire Catholique Franco-Nord's initiative, be it resolved that the use of the Marcel Noel Hall and kitchen at no charge be given to the Conseil Scolaire Catholique Franco-Nord to host their event, which shall be coordinated with the Community Services Department.
I don't know if you had anything. Anything to add on? That? Okay, questions or comments? Councillor Tessier?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Just a question about, in 2023, what was the total revenue for the rental of the Marcel Noel Hall? If you have that information?
Right. And thank you for your question, and through you, Madam Mayor. As I indicated to you today, we aren't able to pull that up last minute, but certainly I'll get you that information in terms of total revenue for the rental of the hall. I did reach out to staff on the last minute, but
Yeah, Monday was a holiday, so
No, I
wasn't able to
understand, that's
send it
fine.
yesterday.
I just don't want to disappoint you, but we couldn't get that quickly enough, so.
I did have a few more questions to maybe include in the report. What was the total revenue loss from the approved requests to waive the rental fee for the Marcel Noel Hall? And what was the total number of approved requests to waive the rental and the total number of denied requests? If that could come
Right.
together.
So through you, Your Worship, you can appreciate those types of questions will involve some research, not only from accounting, but also from our clerk's department with looking at requests and going at past minutes as well for these requests, right? So that could take a little bit of time. So we'll have a report back if it's council's wish. We can have a report back on that matter in a future meeting. Perhaps next meeting. I can't commit staff to that. We have to review all of last year, what the requests were and so on.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions or comments on the request from Frank Stevie? Councillor St. Louis?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Any request to have the Marcel Noel Hall or any hall that we will come to council for approval, correct?
Unless they form.
To be
part of the
waived,
policy.
my apologies. I'm only asking because I don't recall of any last year, so.
So there has been, not only for the Salle Marcel Noël, but for the Cache Bay Community Hall, for example, council did approve the use of the hall for bingos and fundraising. Our intention is we will bring back the information required, but we also intend on bringing back a revised policy to council, having that discussion as to process, procedure, and criteria. That policy dates a few years, and we're seeing more and more requests come in now that we're back to normal. But we have requests for various halls. Examples: some community organizations will be coming forth with their requests because we've asked them to. There's been past practice, for example, Cano, and we've asked them to come back to this table here for approval on future events. So there has been, I believe this council has approved free use of the hall over the last year or so. But in addition to this, this is why we provided council's package the policy. Just to remind everyone what the criteria is. It's your policy. Council gets to make the final decision, but we have a set criteria on who qualifies and what type of event qualifies. And that's why we included it in your package so that you can make an informed decision for specific requests.
Okay, other questions or comments? Councillor Rivard?
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. I was just trying to figure out how I would say this, but like a hockey tournament, for example, there's no such thing as reduced fee or free ice time, right? Like I'm not against having this good activity in town because it will bring in some people. Then I also see 32 teams, they're coming, they're spending a bunch of money. And are there other ways that the municipality will be helping, or will it solely be this free rental hall?
For specific, I'll answer your first question, Councillor. hockey tournaments, we generally will include if an association or organization hosts a hockey tournament and they will bring in 15, 20 teams for the entire weekend, we will include the use of the Hall of Fame room, for example, in Sturgeon, or at the Verner upstairs hall. We normally include that at no cost because they rent the entire facility for that weekend. Other than that, this particular event is hosted at the school, but they want to host their banquet because there's an entertainment component to it. So they want to host their banquet in our facility, and such is the request for the use. But the rest of the event is occurring at the high school. But that being said, with this number of people coming in, the angle they're using, which is factual, is that there'll be a lot of money invested within our community to local businesses. But that being said, again, I'm repeating myself. This is why we've provided you with a copy of the policy and the criteria set out by council, but it's council's purview to make the decision request or the decision based on the request in front of you.
Oh, I have a question. Is there anything in the policy that prohibits a school board or a school from requesting this? Like I know we talk about not-for-profit or charitable organizations.
So in this event, in this occasion here, it's the school board that is requesting the funds. My assumption would be that a school board is a not-for-profit entity. I don't think I consider it as charitable entity, but in this case, it's an entire school board requesting the free use of our hall for a significant event that they're bringing into our community.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Okay, with that, I will put the resolution to a vote. All those in favor, you read the resolution of granting the fee waiver request. All those in favor, please. Okay, all those opposed? Carried. Okay, and that is the final item on our meeting for this evening. Just as a brief mayor's report, we already talked about the EDCO award won by the municipality of West Nipissing for the strategy. So that took a little bit of wind out of my sails. But on another note, Mr. Barbeau and I are heading tomorrow to North Bay to attend the kind of first session for the Icelandic prevention model Planet Youth collaboration with the health unit. So we're looking forward to attending that session. And we've got an exciting funding announcement coming with College Boreal this week as well. So stay tuned for those details. It's a very busy week in the municipality here. And I'd like to thank our guests in the audience for this evening for attending. And with that, I will allow Madam Clerk to close the meeting for us.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-13, being a bylaw of the municipality of West Nipissing, to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on February the 20th, 2024, shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that the council and committee of the whole meeting held on February the 20th, 2024, be adjourned.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.